Today we're going to be replacing the front and rear stabilizer links on the 06 Toyota Highlander. This is the same process on the Highlander from years 04 to 07 and the Lexus RX330 and 400. In addition, some other Toyota vehicles are RAV4. This is the exact same process. The only difference is the part numbers and the torque specs. To get started here, jack the vehicle up. Make sure you use a good quality jack stand under there. Then we'll go ahead and remove the lug nuts, and it's just going to be a 21 mil. Starting with the front here, here's our stabilizer link. This is the nut that we're going to have to remove, and there's two of them in order to remove this. Now, sometimes these will come off easier than others, but what you want to do for sure is you want to first use a wire brush, get all of that corrosion off of those threads, then we'll put some PB Blaster on there. Now ready to remove these. Now, the one thing I will say here is you might do this 10 out of 10 times and you'll get 10 different results. Sometimes you get lucky and this will not spin in there. You use your impact and that nut will come off there. Other times it'll be spinning in there and you must insert either a hex key here, or some of them have a flat piece on the back where you can get an open end back there to hold it from spinning. Then you can zip it off there. Other times that doesn't work either and you have to cut these out of here. They're on there so bad. So we'll start with the easiest solution and work our way to see what we got to do on this one. So it looks like this one is spinning. So then the next thing we want to do is we want to clean this out in here, because you don't want to just jam something in there and think you have the right size in there, when in reality there's so much corrosion in there, you put the wrong size, you strip that out. So the first thing you want to do is clean this out. And after we get that cleaned out, it looks like that's just going to be a 6 mil. So we'll put our wrench on there. And we'll begin the process of slowly cranking this off of here. All right, so it looks like this one is not cooperating, and this happens regularly where these strip out in here. So we're probably just going to cut this off, and then we'll see about the bottom there. I might just cut them both off just to speed up the process. But again, you will see this on occasion. These hex on the end usually like to strip out, and you don't got much leverage on anything. You can try a vice grip back here, and I might try that here real quick, but if that don't work, I'm just gonna cut them out of there to speed the process up. So that didn't work either, so we're just gonna resort to cutting these out of here. And honestly, you have to probably do this 5 out of 10 times. You know, it just depends on how rusty the vehicle is. Just make sure when you're cutting it, just cut it back here. Don't hit this little part here on the strut or down there on your sway bar. Okay. All right, so as you can see, we got that top one cut out there. One note on that, when I first made my cut in the back, I didn't get in far enough, so I didn't get past that lip, and that's why you saw me how to do another cut here on the front side. Obviously, with grinders and sawzalls, you just need to be careful. You know, your strut, your lines, you got all kinds of stuff in here, so just be careful, but eventually you will get it cut out. So now let's see if we can get this bottom one out now. All right, so we'll first try to break this nut loose to see if it'll make it a little easier to spin this back here. So now that it's loose, then we'll insert our 6mm. And I don't want to jinx myself, but so far it looks like it's coming off there pretty smoothly. And just make sure as you're backing that nut off, just continually keep going in there and using a wire brush, because as you're backing off the threads, you're getting all that corrosion built up on the end. So if it starts getting harder, that just means that you got more corrosion built up in there. So just keep taking your wire brush down there and a little PB blaster and remove any extra corrosion that you see on those threads. So of course it's starting to spin. So I'm going to try something a little bit different here. I'm going to try to put a T40 on there, because sometimes when those get deformed in there, you can kind of wedge one of these T40s or T30s in there. So we'll see if this will give the grip. We almost got it off here, so it's very close. All right, so I guess I did jinx myself. This one is also now spinning down here as well, so I'm just going to resort to cutting it out. You know, in my younger years, I'd fight with this thing for a couple hours here to get it out, but I'm in my mid-40s. I'm simply going to cut it out and stop messing with it. But the one other comment here is sometimes it is easier to have this connected up here, just loosely thread on there. Obviously, we cut that out, so we can't do it, but you know, it just helps with this moving around. But we're just going to go ahead and cut this one off here real quick as well. All right, so then eventually when you get that cut off, you should be able to just pry the rest of it off, and it should come out like that. Now, that didn't take me 30 seconds to do. You know, I fast forwarded this, you know, obviously in the interest of the video, but just be prepared. You're gonna battle with these a little bit. Just take your time. You don't wanna be hitting anything else down here with sawzalls or grinders, whatever you're using to cut it off. But eventually, with a little patience, you will get them off just like we did here. So now we're ready to install our new one. So we'll just loosely tighten both of these, and then we'll tighten both of these nuts up to 55 foot-pounds. Now, if yours is off, which it probably will, you can either fight with pushing your stabilizer bar down there, or the easier route is just put a jack underneath the control arm, and we'll jack this up a little bit so it's easier to install that. So once you get that up a little farther, and we'll slide this top in as well. And one comment here real quick on the tighten these up to 55. If you watch any of my other videos, I always typically like to use the torque specs on every single bolt I can get a torque wrench on. With that said, here we're not going to be able to do that because we have to put our hex in here to prevent this thing from spinning. So just snug it up the best you can. 55 foot-pounds isn't that much. So just snug both of these up here, then we should be done. And that looks like our new one here is a 19, so it's a little bit bigger than the 17 we used to get it removed. It looks like this might get snugged up here without turning that. And you do have some of those on occasion, the brand new ones, because they're firm in there. It won't spin. But just be prepared if it does start spinning. So make sure you put the hex on the end here. All right, so once it starts getting snug, as you can see there, it is spinning. So just make sure you put your hex on the end. And it looks like our new one here is a 5. So that's, again, a little bit different size as well. All right, so that's good enough. And we'll tighten the bottom there. So there I can feel it spinning again. So insert the 6mm hex on the end. So once you get that snugged up, everything looks good here, then just repeat the same process on the other side. So moving on to the rear, here's our sway bar link here. We're gonna make sure we remove some of that corrosion on the outside here, just like we did on the front. Then spray with the little PV blaster. Then we'll take our 14mm and see if we get lucky and see if these will come off. And it looks like they are spinning, so we have to put something on the end here. And again, if that doesn't work, and then we'll just simply cut them out. All right, so take our ratcheting wrench, put our 5mm hex key in there, then we'll slowly ratchet this off. And we'll just leave that threaded on there until we get the bottom one off. All right, so go ahead and remove that nut and pull this one out. Then go back to the top, remove that nut, and it should slide right out. Then we'll take our new one. Then we'll tighten these up and then we'll torque these to 55 foot-pounds. Now, one other note, I didn't mention before, but you're going to need a 14mm there. And on this one, it looks like it's going to be a 17. One other comment here, if you got one that has the hex key here, just like on the front, you're not going to be able to get your torque wrench on there. Some of them you do also have an area back here you can get an open end, but if you don't have one, just snug it up the best you can. It doesn't have to be super tight. 55 foot-pounds isn't that much. Alright, so then just repeat that same process on the other side, then you've completed your job here. So hopefully this helped you out. If it did, please give me the thumbs up. If you're interested in more content like this, please hit that subscribe. But again, I hope this helped you out. Thanks for watching.